You're watching the Prep Rally Podcast.
Welcome to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. Graham Thomas, Rick Fires, here in Northwest Arkansas. Leland Barclay joins us from the River Valley. Gentlemen, it is our last Prep Rally Podcast of 2024. And today we are wrapping up football season. It comes and goes very, very quickly, doesn't it, Rick?
You know what? It's a seasonal sport. It doesn't drag on and on. I think that's why we anticipate it so much. You know, the high school playoffs are over now, and we won't see any shoulder pads, any hitting till what? Late August? You know, this is unlike the NBA that drags on, Major League Baseball drags on. But I think that's part of the charm, that it's a seasonal sport. You're guaranteed, or hopefully guaranteed, 10 games, maybe 14, 15 if you get championship games. So I'll be looking again for high school football again about midsummer. So just love the high school game.
I mean, Leland, it just seems like yesterday you and I were, spending just about every day on the phone talking something about football season, and it comes and goes so quickly.
It does. Two things that I always do. I have, my stat sheets that I do for all the area teams and a lot of the teams around the state that we keep up with, so that we have stats for our capsules and different things. And of course, that thing is completely clean, empty at the first of the year. And then I've got a big folder that I keep all my, the games that I cover and the stat sheets and my play-by-play and stuff. It's completely empty. And it's like just in a couple of weeks, it's like it's completely filled up. And this past week, I was doing the final stats for, passing leaders around the state and all that stuff. And yeah, it seems like it just happens and goes by so quick. And I think, like Rick said, and you said, a big part of that is that it's a seasonal sport. Mm-hmm. Plus it's a weekly sport. And we really look forward to that every Friday night. And it goes by in a blink. And I was talking to Grant Carnes down at Little Rock after the state championship game that the Greenwood won. His first varsity start as a freshman was in the state championship game. And one of the things he mentioned even, and this is from an 18-year-old, kid, said it just goes by so fast. And I think that speaks for all of us.
Leave it to an 18-year-old kid to put it in perspective for a bunch of old guys like us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, for the last time in 2024, let's roll into Gimme 5. Take it away, Leland.
Well, these are the top 5 performances of the past, season for high school football in the River Valley. Of course, we always start with the player of the week. We didn't have one this week, but obviously Kane Archer and the Greenwood Bulldogs winning their second straight and 12th state championship in school history, a big 61-35 win over Shiloh Christian. Kane Archer, of course, completed 81.4% of his passes on the season, which is a national high school record. Of course, a state record as well. 57 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. He threw more touchdown passes than he did not complete passes, with 54 incomplete passes plus the 2 interceptions. But really, it was a total team effort. Ashton Stein, Christian Fleming, 2 senior bookend tackles for that offensive line, Grant Carnes, Champ Davis, the whole offense. And then, of course, the defense. None of that's possible without the defense led by Cash Archer. And, I think they had 7 players named All-State this past week. They had 6 more players named All-Conference. So it was really a total team effort. The quarterback always gets, a lot of the accolades and the skilled guys, but obviously a total team effort. They trailed twice this whole entire season, and it was both against Shiloh Christian in the first meeting, the first conference game of the year. They trailed 7-0 when Shiloh Christian won the coin toss, took the ball, went down and scored. And then in the third quarter, they trailed. The Bulldogs did 17-14. Altogether, they trailed for less than 2 minutes this entire football season. Played 13 games, won them all, 11 by the mercy rule, Just a incredible performance by the Greenwood Bulldogs this season. And then, of course, number 2, Daniel Burton led the Mansfield Tigers to the state semifinals, their second outright conference championship in school history, the first time that they ever got to play a home semifinal game in front of their home crowd. Tremendous season for the Mansfield Tigers. And again, a total team effort. Andrew Burton, the fullback, junior fullback, had a great season. They were very good on defense as well. Dakota Deers, the outstanding defensive lineman for the 3A1 conference. And that conference was so good that 14 players were named All-State this past week. That was released on Monday. All 14 of them came from Mansfield, Booneville, and Charleston. So that just tells you how good that conference was. Mansfield, a tremendous season. And then number 3, Hunter Warren kind of picked up the Booneville Bearcats and kind of carried them on his back. They played 3 playoff games, lost to Fordyce, went on the road, lost to Fordyce in the third game of the playoffs, the quarterfinals. Tremendous season for them. Again, big senior class. They'll be graduating some people, but they also have some very good juniors and sophomores, and they're going to be very good again. So another tremendous season for the Booneville Bearcats. And then number 4, not very many times do we get to say record-setting or record-breaking. Well, Van Buren had 2 guys this year that we could say that a lot. Trenton Cooley and Cameron Keller. Those guys grew up playing football together since the 2nd grade. Tremendous athletes. Also, both of them are just tremendous, representatives of Van Buren High School. Trenton Cooley, tremendous player. Cameron Keller, we were kind of joking at the media days we had this past week when we were taking some photos. And Cameron Keller, of course, is the all-time leading rusher in Van Buren history. He scored his jersey number was number 32, a traditional running back number. Well, his ACT score is higher than his jersey number, which is pretty good when your jersey number is 32. Tremendous season for those guys. For the second year in a row, they went on the road and won a playoff game in the state playoffs. So tremendous season also for the Pointers. And then number 5, A.J. Lyons-Jarrell did everything for the Pecola Indians this year. Great defensive player, great offensive player. Did it for 4 years. He started as a freshman. He had over 4,000 yards rushing in his career. He also played a little bit of quarterback and threw for over 1,000 yards in his career. And he also had over 1,000 yards rushing in his career. Led Pecola to the second round of the state playoffs, where they lost to the eventual state champions on the road in the second round of playoffs. And then as an honorable mention, the Salisaw Black Diamonds, this senior class, they were 0-10 as sophomores 2 years ago. This past year, they won a playoff game. They got to play a playoff game at home, won a playoff game, and then lost in the second round. But they went from 0-10 to winning a state playoff game. So tremendous effort by all of them. And, of course, we could go on and on, but those are really the top, 5+ performances of the past football season.
That's a great turnaround. You love hearing stories about that, going over and then, turn around and making the playoffs by the time you're seniors. That's awesome. Well, Leland, now that football season is over with in the River Valley, we're going to dive headfirst into basketball. So I know we've had some tournaments the last couple of weeks, but got some more this week and some more after that during Christmas week. Why don't you give us the rundown on that?
Well, for sure, basketball season did not wait on us to finish football season. It is going, head first into basketball season. Of course, this past week, the Greenwood or the Northside Lady Bears won the Tournament of Champions on their home court, which was a tremendous tournament. Teams come in from, all over. Ricky Smith jokes about the Tournament of Champions that he always gets phone calls from teams that want to come in and play, but they only call when they have really good teams. Mm-hmm. That's when they want to call and get in the Tournament of Champions. So they kind of they take the first teams that kind of call, and they'll start working on that in January. And so there'll be top-notch teams that come in every year that give the local teams. This year it was Lamar, and of course Northside and Southside's in it every year. So that's a big tournament. Then coming up this week, we have the Foster's Roofing Classic, the former Coca-Cola Christmas Classic, which is also another tournament that brings teams in from all over. Walter Woody will have coverage of that on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then next week, around the Christmas break, we have the traditional 3 big tournaments in the River Valley. Of course, the Bank of the Ozark is the oldest one that goes back into the 80s. And then the Bill Fry Invitational at Mansfield, which is another true tournament type setup. And then the Bob Denniston Classic at Mountainburg, named after a former coach at Mountainburg and just a historic coach in Crawford County. Coached Mulberry to a state championship in 1960. And so that classic, that's a round robin format that's going to be held at Mountainburg. All of them are on that Friday and Saturday, and then the Monday because of how the schedule falls and the dead periods. And then, of course, it's on the conference schedules for the 6A and the 5A.
Wow, yeah, and the 4As and below have already kind of started on that. So, and hey, River Valley basketball fans, be sure and pick up a copy of this week's River Valley Democrat-Gazette on December 22nd. The River Valley Report basketball preview will be included along with that paper. That's been an ongoing project for several months now, and be sure and check that out. Leland and Harold McIlvain and Kevin Taylor and just a bunch of folks. Hank Layton, our photographer, have been very involved in getting that together, and we're excited to put out that publication for you guys. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get to the top 5 in Northwest Arkansas. You're listening to Prep Rally. And we're back on the Prep Rally podcast. Graham Thomas, the living legend Rick Fire is with us. And Rick, for the last time in 2024, let's go over the top 5 for Northwest Arkansas.
Okay, I kind of broken down by classes. You got to start with 7A, a Bentonville team that started 0-3 on the year. Behind guys like Trevor Grant. Trevor Grant, the quarterback, had a tremendous year. Leads Bentonville to the state final against heavily favored Bryant. But, they gave them a great game. They just fell a little bit short. What was it, 28-23, if I remember correctly? So great job by Bentonville, quarterback by Trevor Grant. I got to see Bentonville probably 2 or 3 times, and Trevor Grant went head-to-head against Conway and their quarterback, Grayson Wilson. Grayson Wilson going to be a tremendous prospect. Hopefully has a great career at University of Arkansas. But Grant was right with them. They went back and forth. A lot of folks expected Conway to be in the finals against Bryant, but it wasn't. Bentonville was there again. They just came up a little bit short. Let's go to 6A. The Shiloh Christian, man, Griffin Mason just had a tremendous year. He did the bulk of the work in the backfield. He was a guy who played different positions. He was a starting outside linebacker. He did some punting. But the coach said, man, we got to have you as running back. He did a great job at running back. They just came up short against just a tremendous Greenwood team. Leland talked about them and their dominance. And, Mason came to the forefront when they really need him. Shiloh Christian broke in 2 sophomore quarterbacks this year. One of them got hurt. The other one come in. The other one got hurt. So great job by Shiloh Christian just getting to the finals. Greenwood's just too much for them, like Greenwood's too much for everybody in that classification. But Shiloh Christian played them pretty tough the first time, kind of got away from them the second time. Let's go to 5A. And here is a guy I was expecting to see at the coffee shop this summer, and he didn't show up. It was Tommy Tice. He came out of retirement. He was expected, to be off this year, but the Farmington, the former coach, left, and they reached out for a long shot to say, man, I don't know, with Tommy Tice, man, he's enjoying life. He's out there walking around, maybe feeding the goats and the cattle, taking a nap. But you know what? Tommy Tice, the old war horse, he still knows how to win, and he led Farmington to conference championship. They got in the playoffs. Great job by Tommy coming out of retirement and leading Farmington to a really stellar season. Dropping down to 4A, Elkins, man, they go 13-1 last year, get eliminated in semis. They go 14-1 this year. Arkadelphia, a tremendous team, tremendous program down there, a lot of tradition. But J.K. Walden was a two-way starter. You know, you hear that maybe a 2A, 3, even at 4A, but he was a two-way starter, outside linebacker, rushed for over 1,500 yards, just tons of touchdowns. The previous year, he was like a backup to Deshaun Cherry, and when J.K. Walden got his chance, man, he just took off with it. So great job by Walden over there at Class 4A Elkins, which is state runner-up this year. All right, and this is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, my fifth one, I got to go back up to 6A. In our preseason magazine that we put out, we had two old-timers coming out of retirement. Tommy Tyson, the other one with Doug Lockridge. He'd already retired. He was in administration. He'd been a head coach at Alma, at Charleston. He was the AD. And Doug, he had a little bit more left in him. And you talk about a challenge. He agreed to become the head coach at Siloam Springs, which began the year, I think, 27-game losing streak. You know what? Siloam Springs, not where they want to be, but this year they did win 2 games. So, you know, that's a start. It's not where you want your program to settle at. But, man, the excitement and joy for these kids that lose and lose and lose and go to practice and lose again, and your teammate, people in the school saying, "Oh, you're just wasting your time. Why are you doing that?" You know what? These kids stuck to it under the direction of Doug Lockridge. So they won 2 games this year, and just to get off the bus or go home after a Friday night and tell your parents, "Hey, we won the game." And so good job by Doug Lockridge. I'm sure they'll get more wins next year, but the Panthers are back on the to get a win. They're back on path. So great job by another guy coming out of retirement and doing a good job over at Siloam Springs.
You know, and one thing you didn't mention, and I saw the way you had broken it down, that was a good job on your part. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the performance of Jeff Regan and then the show he put on every week. It seems like he was a weekly appearance in our Prep Rally podcast in the top 5, and we're going to be talking a lot about this young man next year.
Absolutely,
and hopefully, you know, when he goes off and plays college football somewhere, we're going to really follow him along as well. It was a fun season up here in Northwest Arkansas covering high school football. You know, I know Bentonville kind of ran away with the conference, but for a while there, we didn't know which direction it was going to go. So, you know, just a tremendous season for everyone. So just like Leland, we're going to move into the Northwest Arkansas Sports Report and moving in from football to basketball. And, you know, Rick, we had a lot of basketball here last week.
I know. I was like 3 different places, I think, and sometimes I didn't know where I was at.
Well, we had the Farmington Bad Boy Mowers Classic, and we had the Red Dog Invitational over at the beautiful new arena in Springdale, the Super S Arena, as you called it. I was over at the NWA Classic at Harbor, which was a girls tournament, and man, like it just, you know, just as we say, football season comes and goes, and then basketball hits you just kind of like a brick in the face a little bit, like, bam, it's here, you know?
It's like a big Oklahoma land rush. You know, they'll settle down in the conference. I like the conference where it's Tuesday and Friday, but these tournaments that goes on for about 3 or 4 days, they're exciting as well, but the real competition starts in conference, I think. Yeah,
and we also had, the Rogers had the Hoop Fest, and the Mounties and the War Eagles played in that. And there was a tournament up in Pea Ridge that, unfortunately, we didn't have enough people to be able to get up to it. So, and you know, there's more this week. Rick, it looks like there's the Springdale boys are having a little kind of a round robin deal. They're calling it the Bulldog Classic later this week. Um, and you know, Leland mentioned the Foster's Roofing Classic down in the River Valley. So we have a little bit of basketball this week, not as much as we did last week. But then during Christmas break, Gravit's hosting their invitational. P Ridge will have another tournament. So there's going to be plenty of hoops out there for you guys to go check out if you're, needing to get out of the house and, get out of the Christmas decorations and go watch some basketball. And a lot of these tournaments are usually pretty fun. The Gravit folks have really done a good job in recent years since that school opened its new arena and hosting these classics. And we all know P Ridge does a great job over there. So,
And I like having an escape route this time of year. Like the other day, and I'm putting up my Christmas decoration. My wife said, "No, don't put that big bulb here. Put it over there. Don't put that one out there." I got a basketball game to go to. See you later. So I think that helps a lot of us to say, I got to get out and watch some basketball, and you're going to see some good basketball. Some of these kids, mostly in the upper classifications, you're going to see them on the college level. There's one future Razorback right there at Springdale. So, hey, if you need an excuse, your wife or your girlfriend or somebody's bugging you, go to a basketball game.
Yeah, and the tournaments this week and next week are really the last ones before these teams can kind of work things out before conference play starts. So it's really, really important that they play all these tournaments. So, all right, well, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Who You Got. This is Prep Rally. And we're back on the Prep Rally podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. I'm Graham Thomas. He's Rick Fires. Leland Barclay joins us in the River Valley. And today, guys, it's time for Who You Got. We've been doing it all year, but, man, it's a very special Who You Got. And I have to say that we're really not doing Who You Got, Rick.
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't look at it.
But if we were doing Who You Got, it would be my Who You Got would be I got Rick Fires. I want to tell you this story, Rick. I moved to Jonesboro, Arkansas in 2004 from Jackson, Mississippi, and had been at school at LSU, and you guys know all that. But it was when we moved to Jonesboro and I started working at the Jonesboro Sun that I first started to get to read the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I never really read it before, never really had a reason to. But, man, I remember picking up the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. And we got the statewide edition over in Jonesboro.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it didn't have all the stuff in it. But I started reading Rick's picks. And I started reading about Arkansas baseball. And I thought, man, this Rick Fires guy, what a job he must have. He's covering the Springdale Five. He's covering the Arkansas baseball team. And he's writing this column, Rick's Picks, which is just – man, that when even we moved over into Northwest Arkansas and I was at the Benton County Daily Record, I remember reading Rick's picks, like, who's Rick going to pick? Because I thought, man, Rick has the answers. Rick has the answers.
I had y'all fooled.
And, and sometime after that, I think it was during 2006 when the Rogers Mounties were going through that season, and, you kind of started gravitating more to covering a lot of Rogers that year. I got to meet you and over the years got to know you, and really over the last couple of years really got to know you. We've worked together for a while now, but we've really worked together a lot these last couple of years. And as Rick announced in his column on in the Sunday paper, if anyone didn't see it, be sure and check it out. But Rick is hanging it up on December 28th, and this will be his final Prep Rally podcast as a member of the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette staff. I'm not going to say it's going to be his final Prep Rally podcast ever, because you never know what may happen. He may turn up every now and then as a special guest star. But I just thought, man, if there was ever a sports writer who was almost like a rock star, it's got to be Rick Fires. And I just wanted to tell you that. And I'm sure Leland probably had some things he wanted to say too. So I'll turn it over to Leland, and we'll let Leland talk.
That deserves to ride off into the sunset, it's Rick Fires. The best column writer in the state. And I want to ask Rick a question, because I love to pick the brains of people that are really at the top of their profession that I just respect their opinion and the work that they do so much. I just want to know what your mindset is, what you're thinking, what you're going into writing a column with as far as, because, we all sit down on a Friday night with a blank sheet of paper, but most of the time the stuff unfolds in front of us and really kind of falls in our lap as far as game coverage and even features and things like that. I've never been able to write columns. I just want to know what do you cut into and what's your thought process? How do you write a column? Because you're the best in the state and you've got the awards to prove it.
I appreciate that. Leland, it's just you just got to pay attention and read, see what's going on. I always start with the high schools, and I like the college teams and everything. And if I don't see anything there that piques my interest, and if I think that I'm interested in it, that maybe other people will be interested in. Well, so right around Thursday or about Friday morning is when we got a little time because we really don't have to go out much until 5 o'clock before we got to go to our games. So I get a little bit antsy if I don't have anything by Thursday night or Friday morning, and I just and I'll go I'll read other newspapers. I read the small newspapers. I read the Prairie Grove newspaper, the Madison County newspaper, and I read when I can get online down there at Fort Smith. Just look for something that kind of stands out. And I can go, I don't know, well, what do I think about that? And then I'll write down, I'll present it to other people and see what they think about it. But, that's where I start at. One of my relatives one time, they sent me an email on after I made my announcement and said, oh, Ricky's so smart. Ricky is not smart. Ricky is well-read. So I had to correct one of my relatives. Never been smart. You just ask my wife. But I am well read. I love to read. I love to read other people. Leland, I've been reading you for years. A lot of respect for you. We've always had a lot of fun when we show up to the games together. Even when we competed, we were always cordial. I've gone to this is one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. He's got he's in a tough position trying to go and hand out all the assignments. But you know what? It's been a pleasure for me, man. And any of you readers, I just appreciate so much you taking the time out to read what I've written. But there just comes a time when I think I told somebody earlier, I don't want to go to 90 miles an hour anymore. I want to go 22 miles an hour. I want to go on the dirt road. I want to stop and I don't know, feed a squirrel or sit out in the backyard and play with my dog Rally. So I still love to write, and I'll still be. And people, this is the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, River Valley. That is the best coverage you're going to get. College and high school, they got blogs and they got other stuff going on. But I will continue to read our paper with guys like Graham and Leland down there, and thank you guys very. It was kind of unexpected. I'm Irish. Either I'm mad or sad and almost in tears, but I appreciate that, and I'm not going to be gone forever, and I'll still poke around, and you're going to see me a little bit. But as far as going day to day, full time, I am out. Appreciate y'all.
A couple of the highlights. I know you mentioned in your column that you kind of caught your break when you moved from the night shift to the day shift in Jonesboro, and maybe just kind of take us through that real quick about just how it started and where it all has been, and some of your favorite memories of it.
So I actually graduated from a high school, Central High School in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in 1974. My family moved back to Arkansas. We're originally from Arkansas. They went up there part of the Great Flight, go up there work in the car factory, did all that. But my parents moved down here, and the first question I asked is, I'd already had 1 year of junior college. I said, how am I going to go to college? And said, well, you aren't. You're going to go to work. So that's what I did. They didn't say it harshly as that, but that's what I got from it. And I just worked in factories and other jobs, but I always had that burning desire that I wanted to go back to college and 6 hours here, 3 hours there. And this is for y'all, you people right there. I mean, you can do this. Just stay at it. If you have a burning desire, and one of the reasons I said, Ricky, man, you're old, and how you could retire 6, 7 years ago. Why? I love my job, and that's the key to the whole thing. To just find something you enjoy, your passion. Sports has been my passion. They finally gave me a degree on May 11th, 1984. I don't forget because I still got my degree right there, and I look at it. When I get blank and everything, I say, man, I can do this. I got to come up with something. So that's what happened. I went Newport, Blytheville, up here at Bentonville, Rogers, Springdale, down there at Pine Bluff. I spent 2 years, 13 hours, 22 seconds, and I got the hell out of Pine Bluff. And then I went to work at the Southwest Times Record, spent 6 years there. And then I got the call from the Democrat-Gazette, and they hired me when Wally said, man, you're a guy who paid your dues. And I said, I appreciate it. And then been doing it ever since. Like I said, it's been a treat for me, but comes a time when you just got to stop, and that's what I've done on December 28th.
All right. Well, Rick, if you'll excuse Sydney here, she got a little cake.
Oh,
how about that? You really can't.
Wow.
I don't know if we can get a camera on it, but it's a beautiful red and black and white
Sydney.
cake.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow.
So we'd like to thank Sydney for all her help. She's been a big help on the podcast this year. So we are.
I just need a fork or a shovel. Either one will work. I don't care.
Leland will have to mail you a piece of cake.
Congratulations, Rick.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate y'all. Absolutely.
And today is December 17th, so we still have a few more days of him, and we've had some discussions about him staying around and doing some writing here and there. So you'll probably see his byline a little bit after December 28th, but he'll have his final column as one of our columnists in the Democrat-Gazette on December 28th, and man, we're from all of us at the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette staff, we'll miss you a lot, Rick. But we know that you're heading off to play with Raleigh and to do the honeydews and.
I've already seen that list. I may be coming back pretty quick. Wow.
All right. Well, folks, that wraps up this week's. Yes. Thank you, man. That's going to wrap up this week's Prep Rally podcast and the podcast for the 2024 year. We'll be back come January to start conference season. For Leland Barclay in the River Valley, for Ricky Fires, is the cake good? Looked like
absolutely.
Looks like it's pretty good.
I can share half of it. I'm taking half, the rest home.
For Ricky Fires, I'm Graham Thomas. I botched my own ending, Rick. I'm going to pay attention to that cake. I'm Graham Thomas signing off. We love you.
Goodbye and thank you.